All righty, welcome. This session here is with Pat Hiban. Pat, welcome to the Get Listing Summit.
What's up, Andrey?
How's it going?
Man, it's going great. It's going
Well,
good.
for those who don't know, Pat just got back from New Zealand and Australia.
Yeah.
So you're coming back to the cold here in America because it's summer down there, right?
Yeah, well, it's weird. It's summer down there. So like and they don't mess around with the holidays either. So they take a month off for the holidays. And so when we were down there, the month of December, generally they take off from like December 15th to January 15th. So the whole world was not working and off, kids everywhere, everybody's on their like spring break or whatever they call it, summer break, I guess. So, you know.
Gotcha. Well, I'm happy to have you. I'm happy they had a good time, and I'm really excited to have you on the summit here for a few different reasons. One is you've got a great podcast that has contributed a lot to the industry and to our community at large. But also because you do a really good job of pulling together information from rock star people in the industry. And I know we're going to be talking a little bit about that today. You've actually, for those of you listening in right now, we have a presentation from Pat that he's put together that's been contributed to by some real rock star agents. So I'm really excited about that. But also you yourself, you're not somebody who just talks about real estate, but you've actually practiced real estate, right? You've been in the real estate industry for a long time. So tell me a little bit about, for those who don't know, share a little bit about how did you get into real estate? How did that all start? Because I know now that beyond having a podcast, you also invest in real estate, et cetera. So you do all these different things now, but how did it all begin?
Wow. So it all began basically, I went to college and I got a degree in sociology. And, I wasn't a rock star student, so to speak. I got a 2.3 GPA. I didn't really know what that meant for me to get a degree in sociology. I just knew that I had to get out in 4 years because the money ran out. So I picked a major that only had 10 classes in it so I could get out quick. And I thought I wanted to be a probation officer, but no one would hire me. I couldn't get any sales jobs, so I went into real estate because I had no barrier to entry, really. I mean, it's a little course, take a little test, and get out there and get your head kicked in. And that's exactly what happened. And it wasn't by any means conscious. Like I never really used to like drive past houses and say, "Oh, I love that house," or "Isn't that building interesting?" or any of that stuff. I can't say that. I can't say that at all. I think it was just kind of where the universe led me because it paid money and it was a job that had no boss, which I was actually attracted to. I always had a chip on my shoulder when it came to sports coaches and things like that. People, authority figures, bosses. I hated them all, and I can't remember a boss I liked. And so it fit well for me. Plus, I was hungry for money, and I just wanted money, and I knew you could make really fat commissions. My friends were making selling Xerox machines or phone systems or selling stuff and making $100 a sale. And I was like, well, I can sell a house and make $2,000. That's 20 times what they're making. It only makes logical sense for me to go into something where my commissions are bigger. That's kind of what happened. It sounds simple, but that's what happened.
Gotcha. Do you remember what year that was when you got into real estate? Just out of curiosity.
It was November 1987. So, 1988 was my first full year.
Gotcha. How were your first couple of years in the business? You said you got your head kicked in, and that's exactly what happened. How did the first few years go? And then when did you actually start hitting your stride, would you say?
Great question. My first year I made $13,700. I sold 10 houses, and that included some rentals. But that was fine for me because I was renting a room for like $200 a month in a house. I think there was like 4 guys living in this house. So my expenses weren't that high. And then I really didn't get into stride till my third year. My second year, I made a little bit more. Then my third year, I took the Sweat Hogs class, which is a class similar to the Keller Williams Bold class. It's kind of it's like a boot camp basically. So I took a boot camp class, and it got me to realize that I needed to be a listing agent, not a buyer agent, and because I was like 80% buyers, so I flipped the switch, and I just became overnight, someone who just focused on listings, and that year I made 87,000. The year before I made 24. So I went 13 to 24, and then I flipped over to listing agent, made 87, and then 100, and then best year ever, 5.3 million in gross commission, which was about 1.4 net to me.
Gotcha. And then fast forward to 2017, here you are on the Get Listing Summit. Talking about listings. Well, speaking of flipping the switch to becoming a listing agent, I was an agent about 6-7 years ago, and I don't know. I initially, of course, I think like a lot of new agents worked with buyers initially. I don't know how you can possibly build a long-term business working with just buyers in terms of creating stability and predictability. I just think there's so much more predictability and stability in growing real estate business if you're a listing agent. What would you have to say to that comment?
100% true. I mean, you could there's people out there that are brilliant buyer agents that make a lot of money, but their lives suck, in my opinion. You know what I mean? They're workaholics. I mean, I don't see how you can be a buyer agent. I hope I said that right. You can't be a very successful buyer, or I should say, it's very difficult to be a very successful, wealthy buyer agent without being a workaholic.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Listings you can control. Listings you can, choose when you want to work and that sort of thing, and be a very successful listing agent without having to work massive hours.
Sure. Well, speaking of becoming a listing agent, what we're planning here to talk about today and dig deep into is the listing presentation. And I know this was true for me, and I know this is true for a lot of agents that I've worked around and also that I've spoken with over the years. The listing presentation, I think, seems to be one of the most challenging parts of that process of going from generating a listing opportunity to actually getting a listing. And oftentimes, I think agents kind of shy away or just sabotage themselves in the listing presentation because they don't know that they don't feel they have any sense of predictability around it. Maybe they don't feel like they know what they're doing. Maybe they're not sure that they have a proven formula for the listing presentation. So right before I open up your presentation here, your slides, and share my screen so everybody can see them, share a little bit, just share an anecdote or two about how you went from realizing you had to have a listing driven business to, you had a realization that you had to go from being a buyer driven business to a listing driven business. Okay, that's realization one. When in your own process did you actually get intentional about kind of the science of the listing presentation itself, though?
Yeah, the same. It was that same year, because in this class, they taught us. They basically gave us a flip chart, and they had us make the flip chart personal, and then they had us go and practice with our tables in the boot camp the listing presentation over and over and over again, and it was a very canned presentation, but it was the funny thing is this problem still exists today, almost 30 years later. Is very difficult, and that's why it's great that people like you are doing this summit to find really good sales material for real estate agents. And I had been in the business 3 years, and all the education and classes that my managers taught, they were more concerned about me losing my license and getting them in trouble or filling out the paperwork right than they were about me being a good salesperson. So this class was the first one, my first introduction to any sort of sales techniques. So it was during that class in year 3 where they not only taught you how to get the listing appointment,
Pat, are you there? There you are.
Yeah, I'm here.
Perfect. Sorry. Yeah. Well, sorry guys for that little garble. The gerbils are in the internet lines. Anyways, the last thing I heard you say was um that it's really hard for real estate. You know, the problem still exists today that brokers and mentors are more worried about you not losing your license than actually getting you good sales material.
Yeah, yeah, and it's true. And so so this class taught me basically how to step by step get a listing once you got the appointment, and that's what I did. I remember the night exactly. I got I cold called a street. I got an appointment. I went over there. I flipped through this flip chart one by one, and I asked for the order, and they said okay, and they signed. And I got out into the car with this folder of signed paperwork, and I put my hand up in the air like the guy in the Breakfast Club, whatever. It's like, yeah. And I was just sitting there in my car screaming because I was like, shit, I just got this, decent priced listing at a full commission, out of the blue on my own, without a referral or nothing, just went in there and got it. And I think for the first 3 years, I just thought that was only for the experienced agents. That was only for the best agents, was to get listings and to have their signs up on streets. You know what I mean? And then I just started getting a bunch of them, and people were like, "Who's this Pat Hiban guy? How's he getting these listings?"
Right. All right. Well, let me open up my screen share here, and then open up your presentation, and let's dig into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
I love it when it does that.
That was wild.
Can you see the screen? Can you see your presentation?
I could. Yeah, it looks great.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to stay off of the Google Hangout, or otherwise it'll do that where it's the Hall of Endless Mirrors. So what I'll do here, I think the best way, Pat, to do this is just I'll let you kind of just kick it off, and then just let me know whenever you're ready for me to go to the next slide. Let me know, and then when I have questions, I'll just go ahead and ask them.
Cool. Well, this is just the opening slide. That's my book, 6 Steps to 7 Figures. Can be bought anywhere books are sold online, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, what have you. That's my podcast. Hibandigital.com is where we store them all. Over 400 interviews, and nice little search bar there. Anything you need to learn about, whether it's Zillow reviews, FSBOs, listings, whatever, you could just type it in the search bar, and out of those 400, 10 or so will show up that give you exactly what you need from all of the best agents around the world. So,
and speaking of which, this presentation is put together with some of the top agents in the country. So tell me a little bit about your relationships with them and how you've worked with them to put this together.
Yeah, so the cool part was that I interviewed all these guys and gals on my show, and then I decided to put together a program where, rather than it was like Pat Hiban telling you what you should do on a listing appointment, I said, let's get more than one person's opinion. Let's get 8 listing presentations and film them. So what I did is I sat down with each one of these people for 2 to 3 hours, filmed their listing presentation professionally, and then asked them questions about, why did you say this? Why did you say that? Blah, blah, blah. And analyzed each listing presentation down to the words and the actions that they took with me in trying to get me to list my house with them. And we created a course out of it, and we call it the Certified Listing Agent, part of Rebus University. And that's it. And that's so what I'm going to do today is share with everybody some of these steps and techniques and procedures that these agents use to close probably not average, 90% of every listing appointment they go on.
Sure. That's awesome. I know Jeff Cohn. By the way, Jeff Cohn, well, I mean, I say no loosely. He's actually, he's in the summit too. I don't know if you knew that, but he's on the summit, and that guy's a rock star, man. He's got over 6 different businesses in the industry now, and is just absolutely killing it. So if the other contributors are anything like Jeff, then this is going to be a presentation that everybody wants to pay attention to for sure.
Yeah, Jeff's good. I went out to Omaha, Nebraska, a couple months back, and Jeff and I filmed another class called the Certified Team Agent.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, he just opened up his world and let the cameras into it. And
Yeah, that guy's a rock star when it comes to systems and team development. That's what he and I talked about and dug deep into, was specifically his systems and team development. Yeah, what a rock star. All right, let's keep going here. All right, so opening, step 1, the call. Take it away.
So, I broke it. Basically, all these agents, had their presentations broken down into 6 steps. Some of them were maybe 5, but generally either all were 5 or 6. One of the first step was the call, which means picking up the phone and calling the seller or having the seller talk to them. So what I found was, number one, that they all called the seller back immediately.
You mean from when the seller became a lead?
Yeah, from when the seller became a lead. There was none of this, emailing back and forth, any sort of other communication. It was always pick up the phone and call them back, talk to them. Another thing that I found was it was always done by the agent. It was always done by the rainmaker, the person who's running the business there was the one that called them. Now, the funny part is when I was at my prime there in the real estate game, we sold 500 some houses and 300 some were listings. And, I would never take the call. I would always have somebody else take the call, get all the information. So it was a surprise for me, but it actually makes sense because we had a lot of people that would cancel before I even got out to the appointment, or before, we had an opportunity to talk to them about listing. And I think that those cancellations came with the fact that salaried person took all the information on the house and scheduled the appointment and did all that. I thought I wanted to make my business like a dentist office where, you call the dentist office, you don't have the dentist make your appointment,
Sure. Well, in all fairness, Amy Kite in Chicago, who's doing a little over 500 sides this year, she does it that way, right? She has front staff who take the information, pass on the listing appointment, and then they call to confirm the listing appointment, so she's not getting stood up. But in all fairness, some people still do it that way. But you're saying that these guys, these core rainmakers here that have contributed to this, they all actually still run it as a high touch business.
Yeah, high touch. Only one that had a variance in this was Nate Martinez out of Arizona, top Remax agent there, and his son would call, but his name is Nate as well, so it's like Nate Jr. So there's still a high touch with that. You know what I mean? There's still, sure, rather than some random. So anyway, so they all made that. They all use that as an opportunity to begin the sales pitch now, meaning they would say things like, they would find out what the person knows about them, and then whatever they didn't know, they would fill them in. Well, I'm the number 1 agent in Phoenix, Arizona, or a lot of them would use this as a rapport building opportunity, social proof opportunity, meaning they would say, oh, you live on, Beasley Way, well, you probably know the Rutherfords. I sold their house.
Gotcha.
You probably know these people. I sold their house. And they would use that as an opportunity to cement the social proof in and say, yeah, I definitely don't want to cancel this appointment. There was a huge fear that the people cancel the appointment, because the fact of the matter is, if it's a valuable asset, like it's a well-priced, it's in a good neighborhood, and it's going to sell, they might be, and probably are, interviewing several agents. And if you're good a salesperson as these 8, there's a chance that you might be able to get that listing before they actually get there.
Sure.
So there was that paranoia, so to speak, that they needed to sell. So they would spend a lot of time with them on the phone. and then they would ask a lot of exact questions. Now, the one thing they didn't ask is really a lot about the house. They would just ask, is anything different from what it says in the tax records?
Okay.
Have you made improvements that don't show up in the tax records, or any old MLS cards?
Sure.
Find. They would just ask about why they're moving, if they're interviewing other agents, what's most important to them in selling their house, that sort of thing. And then a very interesting part is this number 5, the strategic positioning. Like some agents absolutely positively want to go first because they know that if there's appointments, get that seller to cancel. A couple of them wanted to go last, right? Because they want to be able to beat anybody else at all costs, even if it's on price. Meaning, the oldest trick in the book is, everybody tells them $499.9, and you go in there and say, I think you can get $510 for this house.
Right.
You're gonna get the listing. So they wanted to be able to have that last card available if needed to get it at any cost. And so some wanted to go last. Nobody really wanted to go middle. That doesn't make any logical sense. Some didn't care as much. And then all of them do pre-list materials of some form or fashion. Nate Martinez, who I mentioned before, he will send a series of about 4 different videos to them. He sends a video, like if it's in a certain neighborhood, he does a lot of golf course communities. And one of the things he did is he interviewed the golf pros at all the major golf courses around Phoenix, Arizona, and then did a drone shot of each hole in each course and put together a video. And he says, here's an interview with the pro at your golf course and the drone, and I'm going to use this to sell your house. And he sends them all that ahead of time. He sends them example videos, introduction videos, personal videos that he does. Others drop off books. Others have books dropped off literally within an hour. Some people will include a market analysis that is, what the house should be priced at even before they get there. Because if the people aren't serious about price, then they don't want the appointment anyways.
Right.
Other people say they would never do that. They want to have the opportunity to discuss price with them. So that was fascinating. But the one common thread was they all did drop off something. Aaron West at Modesto, California, he actually does a 2-step. So he's the non-team agent of the bunch. He doesn't have a team, and he always does a 2-step. He does a 20-minute, goes over there for 20 minutes, takes a lot of notes, and then comes back. All the rest did 1-steps.
Gotcha. One thing. So back to point number 5 about positioning yourself strategically. You're saying that from all the 8, I think it was 8 agents who contributed to this.
Yes.
They either want to go first or they want to go last in that sequence, right? Of the appointments, but none of them want to go in the middle. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. One thing I also want to make sure that I really kind of bring attention to before we move on to the next slide that you brought up, and it's kind of points number 3 and 4. Begin the sales pitch now and ask exact questions. Somebody else that's here on the summit along with you, Pat, is John Galtieri. John Galtieri is probably one of the best sales skills coaches that I've ever come across in our industry. And he has a group of clients that are doing incredibly well. But I just want to make sure that the audience hears what you're saying and not miss the importance of it, that sales skills matter so much. Even from what you were saying earlier in our interview, that sales skills matter so much in terms of being able to close a deal and being able to actually build your business. It's not just templates. It's not just marketing systems, but you have to have sales skills. You have to be able to know how to pitch somebody. And I really like what you said about being able to relate to them based upon, oh, you're in such and such place. Well, I sold a home for, the family down the street, like you said earlier. and also asking exact questions. I think that's gold right there specifically too, is asking exact questions. Do you know if any of the agents that contributed to this, if they write out the questions that they're going to ask before they get on the call, or do they kind of wing it?
Um, yeah, they all have them memorized because these are agents that are doing hundreds of houses a year, so it's all
Sure.
memorized.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, then I would say the lesson out of that is pre-write the exact questions that you can ask. Do you have any idea how many questions they should plan? I mean, 10 questions, 20 questions, 30 questions. How many questions do you
Yeah,
think an agent should have ready?
yeah, it's not that many, maybe five.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Perfect. All right. Let's move on. Step number 2, the walk.
So okay, so the walk is obviously walking around the house. A lot of agents use this as an opportunity to build rapport. You can go to the next slide. Yeah. So you know. Some agents are early, like Rachel Adams is always early. She'll pull up in the driveway 10 minutes prior sometimes and just sit there. Sometimes she'll go in. Um, Jeff Cohn, who you mentioned earlier, purposely is late.
Okay. That's a little counterintuitive.
Yes, he wants to be in control. Sometimes when he does show up on time, he'll spend 10, 15 minutes walking around the outside of the house by himself. So they'll see him out the window and just taking notes, looking at the outside of the house. So it was
that's really counterintuitive.
Yeah. Saul Z, on the other hand, he does this little trick where he'll actually show up and wait till the exact, let's say it's at 2:00. He'll wait till the exact time on his watch. It's 1:59. He won't do anything. 2:00, he'll ring the doorbell. He'll keep his hand held out like this. And, when they answer the door, they go, he goes, "How you doing? I'm Saul Z. Great to meet you." Shake their hand. 2:00 on the nose, as I promised. Let's get to business. Just reinforcing the fact that he's punctual.
Okay.
Letting them know the other guy came late, not me. I'm punctual. So that was interesting. And a huge opportunity to build rapport, like I said. So you got 10, 15 minutes, and you have to use that to get these people to like you. Rachel Adams talked about touching, which I enjoyed her part so much that I actually made hers and Jeff's like a free video on my website for people to watch, just about where to touch people, where not to touch people, how many times to touch people during this, walkthrough. So they all have different ways to build rapport and get people to like them. None of them really cared what the house looked like. I mean, it was a complete waste of time in their minds, but not because the seller wants them to see the house. But, given the amount of houses they sold, quite frankly, they're going to forget the house the very next day.
Right.
And many of them take fake notes, just, scribble scratching to make the seller feel good, but they're really not taking notes. It's really to build rapport and to pacify the seller that they actually saw the house.
Okay.
And we all know if you have a big team, you're not going to be the one that's answering the call about the house anyways. So what good does it do for you to see the house, right? But the sellers don't know that, and it's crucial. It's BS, but it's crucial. So that's that. And then some of them would give recommendations. They'd say, hey, you should fix this, or if I were you, I would do that. Some won't. Some go with the philosophy of you never want to start a fight prior to proposing to your girlfriend.
Okay.
So why would you start a fight about, fixing something or make the people think they have a terrible house prior to you trying to close the deal. Close the deal first, and then get the stager to come over and tell them that later. You know.
Got it. So get her to marry you first, then try to change her. Brilliant.
Well, that's what you got to do, I guess.
No,
some would say start the fight. You know, better off starting the fight. Yeah. So anyway, so that's funny. So that covers the walk, I would say.
Gotcha. Okay. Again, I just want to bring to attention that we're seeing sales skills pop up again in number 2, which is to build a rapport, which again comes down, a lot of that's probably skill based and just refined by those agents over time, I would assume.
Yeah, and it's all different. You know, some of it's basic. It's, you know, Dale Carnegie, you know, how to win friends and influence people.
Sure.
But some of it is very unique stuff. You know, like Saul Z actually has taken intense courses on neuro-linguistic programming.
Okay.
And you know, he talks a little bit about that, about how to, you know, neuro-linguistic programming. It's not hypnosis, but it's kind of like a subtle hypnosis of you know, the people feel like, I really like that guy. I can't explain why. And so he talks about that. And, so anyways, that's good stuff.
Sure. All right. Perfect. Step number 3, the sell.
So step 3 is the sell. That's when you're actually sitting down at the kitchen table and you're saying, why me? You know, why? Here's why I'm different than all the other agents. And by the way, almost all of them did it at the kitchen table for various reasons. I don't think there was one that did it in the living room. So, so you got the 3 Ps, and you know, that's a cliche. It's, you know, put a sign in the yard, put it in MLS, and pray. And every listing appointment as part of the sell was almost a competition between these agents about how many things can I offer the seller over and above the 3 Ps.
Okay.
So you take the 3 Ps, everybody does that. You know, Saul Z's got 20 things. Rachel Adams got 24 things. You know, Dan Grebe has 124 things. You know, so it's like, it's you got to think that philosophy. How many things can I offer over and above the 3 Ps, and the win, and whoever ends up with the most wins. That's what they go in, guns blazing. What's most important, basically, makes the process of a listing appointment a questions-based process. You know, where they would ask questions about what's most important to you. Some of them ask this on the call, but they repeat it on the sell. And one of the things Dan Grebe does is he uses a strategy of USPs. Basically, a USP is a, you know, unique selling proposition. And if you took the 3 Ps examples, you know, he might have 100 unique selling propositions, 100 things over the 3 Ps, right? And he'll ask the seller what's the 3 most important things to them in picking an agent. And they'll tell them 3 things: pricing it right, a competitive commission, and advertising. So then he'll just take the 3 USPs that he has on those 3 things and super sell each one. He'll spend 10 minutes on each one. And you'll see him do it to me, right? Super sell each one. And then every time he does one, he takes a highlighter and just marks through it. He writes down the 3 concerns, and then he marks through each one. And he says, have I addressed your concerns? There's no reason why you shouldn't list with me at this point, because you have no more concerns. You know, let's do the deal. And as the seller, you're like, well, I guess so. You know? Right.
Well, I don't have any more concerns, so I guess we're doing
it. So yeah. So anyway, so that was really fascinating. Of course, they go over their track record. Rachel Adams does this cool thing where she will take a list of every single house she's ever sold. So let's say hundreds of houses, right? And she has these cardboard pages, and she puts them out on the table, and each one has a huge red sold through going sideways through the thing. So it's like, you know, SOLD going like this, and then here's all the houses, and she spreads them out, and she just leaves them there. She doesn't talk about it. She never brings it up. She just leaves it on the perimeter of the table. So, so it's just social proof that, you know, that she's a killer, you know, that she sold all these houses. Jeff Quinton out of Ocean City, New Jersey, Jersey Shore, actually will print out ahead of time, like every house that he sold in his career, either on that street or you know, within a certain radius of that street. So let's say, you know, that neighborhood, or
Sure,
four or
sure.
five streets that they recognize, and he'll just be like, look, here's 12 houses, this one, that one, you've probably seen this one, it has a big front porch, you've probably seen this one, you know, even if it was 8 years ago, right? It'll be like, I sold that one. It just, again, massive social proof track record. And then, of course, strategy, which I kind of talked about, which is, you know, what Dan Grieb talks, he calls it strategery. He goes in, he figures it out ahead of time. He asks that question, what's most important to you about picking an agent? What 3 things? He asks that on the phone. So he makes sure he goes in with this strategy of how he's going to win this football game. And then, you know, the old adage, don't sell them with blah, 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 when you can sell them with blah. And that just means, you know, if they're ready to list, if they walk into the appointment and there's a duplicate of a key made, right, and a copy of their plat and a copy of their gas and electric bills that you asked them to get ready for them, sitting on the table, well, then you just sign them up, right?
Right. I like that. That's hilarious that Rachel does that. She just puts out a bunch of cardboard pages and just leaves them all sitting there on the perimeter, on the edges, and just doesn't talk about them, but just leaves them there. That's funny.
Speaks for itself, right? Then she doesn't have to sell the best, right?
Right. Exactly. Awesome. So speaking of all these interviews and the videos that you put together, you said that a couple of them are available on your blog. I think you said the ones from Rachel and Jeff, right?
Yeah. Talking about rapport, a bunch of them. We've made a bunch of them available. If you take a look at it, what I did is, these are the 2 courses. So I created a company called Rebus University, and basically it's a university courses for salespeople, real estate agents in general, teaching them sales skills. Our 2 flagship courses are the CLA, Certified Listing Agent, which is this one we're talking about. It's over 10 hours of video of, you know, these guys doing listing appointments.
Right.
And 53 quizzes that you have to pass before you get certified. And then we have the Certified Team Agent, which is Jeff Cohn. Jeff telling everybody how he built his team from 80 agents to 480 from 80 sales to 480 sales in 4 years. And that's called the CTA, Certified Team Agent.
Gotcha.
So
perfect.
If you go to the next slide, there's a link here. Everybody as part of Andrey's Summit gets 50% off both courses. So anyone here on the summit, please go to rebusuniversity.com/summit. rebusuniversity.com/summit. You get 50% off. And if you want to take a couple of the videos for a test run, you can take those rapport building videos. You can take Jeff Quinton talking about how he prices. I think I put one of Dan Grieb's commission objections as to how to get a higher commission on there for free. You can take all those for free, and then you can see if you want it or not. Or if you get it, another thing I'll offer is a money back guarantee. So look, if you get into this listing course, let's say, or Jeff Cohn's, team building course, and some people do this, so this is possible, and it's daunting, it's overwhelming for you, I'll give you 100% money back guarantee. I'll just give you your money back. It happens because these are not like cheese ball courses. These are like, you're going to take this course and you're going to build a huge team, or you're going to take this course and you're going to use this stuff on a listing presentation to win listings. It's not it's not entertainment, it's education. So
I love that.
Know that,
Yeah.
know that going in. These are 10-hour courses, but they're life changing. I mean, they're life changing for the price. If you want to change your life and you want to start being a listing agent, start closing listings, or you want to build a team the right way that's going to profit you $1 million rather than make you make less than you did the year before, take these courses. Do it. I guarantee it.
Well,
I guarantee
it. I love that. I love how tactical so far the presentation has been. So clearly, if that's any indicator of how tactical the videos and the courses are going to be, then definitely probably something that's worth taking a look at for you guys who are listening to this interview. By the way, the summit doesn't get any compensation for this. These courses have been talked about, have been vouched for by multiple people that I've spoken to. About the courses, besides obviously Pat himself, and I can tell you that it's high quality information. And of course, Jeff Cohn, for those of you who are on the summit, Jeff Cohn is part of the summit, and you've heard from him. So you obviously have probably a pretty good idea of the value of this. And of course, with the money back guarantee and the generous 50% off, I think it's a no brainer. So thank you for doing that for the summit, Pat. I appreciate it. And again, that's rebusuniversity.com/summit. Okay, let's keep going here. So point number 4, the price.
Okay, so obviously the price is very important, and this is basically,
sometimes some people say it's the most important, right? It's the make or break part of the listing presentation process.
Well, the funny thing is Brendan Payne is on here. He's out of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and he's a beast when it comes to listings. And 80% of his presentation is price. He doesn't care about anything else. He's like, if they don't want to list it at the right price, he's not interested in telling them much more. He won't even go over the marketing. He'll do like the price first. It's funny. It's all about price, and it works for him, right? I mean, it's work, and it's great. And every market is different. He's in a resort market. A lot of people in resort markets, they put their houses on the market, indefinitely, because there's no skin off their back, right? They just They haven't sale for like 5 years. But he's in the business of making commissions based on houses that actually sell, not houses that just stick a sign up and hope someone that stays there for a weekly beach rental is going to happen to want to fall in love with it and buy it for this price that's massively overpriced. So anyways, he's got some great skills when it comes to price. So this is basically how to do a market analysis, but how to do a market analysis the way that the professionals do it. Some use just comps. I'm not going to go into that. Everybody knows what a comp is. Some use just actives. Saul Z does some really cool stuff because he used to be an appraiser. He does something called a tax record to sale price ratio. So he'll take tax records of like the last 10 homes, and then he'll take the sales prices of those homes, and let's say those homes sold at 3% above tax record value or whatever it is. He'll simply take this person's tax record and add 3% to it and say that's the value of the house, or that's a potential value of the house. Then he also does this other cool thing called a Zestimate to sales price ratio. He'll take the Zestimate, like, and a lot of agents are like, oh, Zestimates, the owner of Zillow sold his house for 30% less than the Zestimate, and all this stuff.
Right.
Some guy hates, the Zestimates. The fact of the matter is their algorithms are getting better and better and better. It's like a cure for a disease, right? They're constantly working on, fixing it and making it closer to perfect. So his estimates are getting better, but nonetheless, what he does is he takes Zestimates, and one of the things is that the seller knows what their Zestimate is. I don't care who you are. People look at their Zestimates just to feel good nowadays, to give them, oh yeah, I got equity, So he takes the Zestimates of the last 10 sales and then says, okay, those Zestimates were X amount above or X amount below these sale prices. And then he takes this person's estimate, because he knows they've looked at it, and adds or subtracts that percentage, and that brings a value. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
And he's got it all mapped out and computerized, and it's really cool. So there's some great CMAs. I mean, everybody does a CMA different, but if you want to do it like a pro, you watch these guys do it, and it's great. It's good. It's good stuff. So there's some tips there for that.
I like that. Perfect. And then moving on to step number 5, then here wrapping up the commission.
So commission's huge. Obviously, it goes market to market. Some agents, and it's really about like Nate Martinez says, he has not been on a listing appointment in years where commission doesn't come up. Some agents say it never comes up. Some agents say, like Jeff Quinton is funny. He's he is so strong on the commission. He is so strong on his commission objections, and he will not budge. Where he won't budge. He'll just be like, nope, 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 nope. And it's great. Others will budge. Others will give discounts. Like if they sell it in-house, they give a discount. Some will discount based on sale price. You know what I mean? If they're getting a $2 million listing, they're not going to hold out for a high commission, because the amount of money that they're getting is already high, and it becomes more about the amount of cash rather than the actual percentage amount.
Well, and especially with a higher end listing, with a higher end listing, typically you'll find that they definitely are going to be interviewing multiple agents, and I don't think there's going to be in the back of your mind, there's not a single competing agent who's not going to be willing to take a small, give a commission discount on a multi-million-dollar property. So you don't want to, like you're saying, you don't want to lose out on the opportunity for that just because you're not willing to discount.
Yeah. Well, Jeff Quinton would tell you he wouldn't, but some of them, like Nate fluctuates on his some, depending on if it's real high. I mean, he sold a house to Sarah Palin recently for $5 million. So I mean, you're dealing with big stuff in some ranges.
Sure.
So anyway, and then. Some have a lot of them focus that listing objection to the co-op fees. Like some will say the listing side of the commission must equal the co-op fee. Man, pretty much all of them. That's a strategy. Jeff Cohn in Omaha, Nebraska has a completely their record. They've taken a record and scratched it all up. Like they have a really funky way of the listing agent gets paid this percentage, and the buyer agent gets paid this. I can't remember exactly what it is, but gets paid this percentage, and that's just the way their market works. That's why I put number 1 is your market. Every market is different. Some agents have admin fees, and we talk about how they get those and what if the seller objects to them. Jeff even has cancellation fees. It's like $599 or maybe $999 or something if you cancel. And we talk about that. And so, there's all different ways commissions was huge. Commissions was huge. But it's definitely something that you need to learn as a top listing agent is be ready, be prepared when the commission objection comes up. And
Certainly.
that's why I put a free, the Dan Grebe, if you go to that rebusuniversity.com/summit, you'll see my interview with Dan Grebe, part of the interview with Dan Grebe, where he actually brings monopoly money. It's called Dan Grebe Monopoly Money. He brings $600 bills from a Monopoly game. He spreads them out on the table. I won't fill up this with the objection technique, but it's a good 10-minute video of him doing that for free if you go there.
Gotcha.
So anyway, so that's good.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's really interesting that, some agents will actually charge a commission, a cancellation fee, or put that in a contract. And then there's other agents like, again, I think of Amy Kite, who does a lot of radio advertising in Chicago. One of the calls to action that works really, really well for radio advertising is no contract, cancel anytime if I'm not doing my job right. So yeah, I think it really so much of what I'm hearing kind of overall is that it really does come down a little bit to your personality, your style, and also what works in your market. But once you figure out what works, then just stick to it and don't move.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Step number 6, the final step here, the close.
Yep. So, this is, getting the paperwork signed, right? Here's the pen.
Here's the pen. Here's the paper. Please sign.
So, this is all about different words to use, what not to use. I told you kind of about Dan Grebe and has the 3 USPs met. I mean, basically Dan says, Mr. Hiban, I've met all your, demands essentially. Now, give me the courtesy of the opportunity to list your house. Let's move forward. All of them say some form of "Are you ready to?" Are you ready to? So they say, "Are you ready to get started? Are you ready to put me to work for you? Are you ready to get the house sold?" Right? Are you ready to sign the contract? Whatever it is, most of the close comes from "Are you ready to?" And I think if you could practice that whole "Are you ready to?" It's going to be a lot easier. Some people, I think a lot of agents are afraid to ask.
Sure.
And so if you just memorize it, "Are you ready to put me to work?" You're asking. And a lot of the agents will tell you at that point you have to shut up. You got to bite your lip, right? He who speaks first loses. So you got to go, "Are you ready to put me to work?" And just have there be awkward silence until they make a decision. So, and then in Jeff Quinton's interview, he talks, and a couple of other ones talk about this too. If the people feel he's too aggressive, or he's getting that sense, he will ask them point blank. He'll use that to his advantage and be, "Are you looking for an aggressive agent? Do you think an aggressive agent is going to get you more money or less money?" He'll go, "Do you want a poodle or a pit bull?"
Right.
I'm your pit bull. If you want a poodle, I'm not the guy. So he kind of is able to take it and turn it around. That an aggressive agent is good, and I'm aggressive now, and I'm going to be aggressive by asking you to sign this paperwork now. That's why I put this here in this close, because he's closing. I'm going to be aggressive, and I'm going to ask you to sign, but I would think you would want me to be aggressive with a buyer and ask them to sign as well.
Right.
And so he uses that aggressiveness, so that people don't get freaked out by it, and they're like, "This guy's aggressive. I don't want to list with him." Well, you do want to list with him because he's aggressive.
Gotcha.
And then there's the fallacy of electronic signature. I had there's some agents out there that will just do listing appointments and figure if they like me or whatever, I'll email them the paperwork. Well, All of these 8 people don't do that unless it's absolutely necessary. They will bring the paperwork with them. They'll have it ready, and they'll do everything in their power to get it signed. One of the things Jeff Cohn does is he'll bring an assistant with him, and if he'll get their commitment, then he'll leave, and the assistant will fill out all the paperwork with him.
Gotcha.
But they all bring it with them. They all close. They all try to get that paperwork signed right then and there. It's not like, hey, if you're ready for me, I'm ready for you. I'll email it to you and you can DocuSign it. So.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. I do like a lot the 3 USPs, the idea, and I think this is really simple for just about anybody to do. Right, you can sit down and you can list out what the typical objections are, common objections are that you get, or concerns that you'd hear from a potential seller, and then turn around and then on the opposite side of the piece of paper, right, list out what the typical concerns and objections are, and on the opposite side of the paper, list out what your unique selling proposition would be to that specific concern, and just have that in mind. Like, practice that, kind of just as a basic sales script. I mean, obviously you want to get sales training, but if you just have to start somewhere, I think that's the place to start. And then I think it's brilliant to ask folks what their top concerns are with selling their home, what their top 3 concerns are for selling their home before meeting with them, because then you can really practice how, like you said, how you're going to win that football game going in.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to turn the slides off here in a second, so we can get back to looking at each other's beautiful faces. But we can go to, you can guys check out more about Pat Hiban at pathiban.com. And if you guys, for those of you who haven't heard his podcast before, I would definitely recommend going and checking that out. And then also remember, if you go to rebusuniversity.com/summit, then you'll get 50% off both of the course, either one of the courses, both the courses, whichever one would make most sense for you and your business. So if you like what you're hearing here today, then that's definitely a way to dig in.
I think that's backslash. Does backslash and forward slash work the same?
I feel like it's a trick question. I don't know, but I do believe that.
Like if you put a backslash instead of a forward slash.
Oh, it has to be a forward slash. I'm pretty sure.
It has to be a forward slash?
I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Let's go online right now and find out.
Weird. Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to play with that. But anyways, something slash, forward or back. I put on the screen, I put backslash, but I always thought you could do either backslash or forward slash.
Yeah, well, I think the convention is forward slash. At least that's what I'm used to. So, but yeah, either way, it's rebusuniversity.com/summit, guys, and that's how you can get exclusive access to this offer from Pat. So thanks, Pat, for doing that. Well, let me ask you this here as we're wrapping up, and I appreciate your time. What would you say are the top areas of focus when it comes to sales skills? What would you say are the top things that an agent, top 1, 2, or 3 things that an agent should focus on in developing? Because to say sales skills is still kind of vague, right? I mean, it could have covered so much. So within the umbrella of sales skills as it pertains to getting listings, where would you recommend an agent start their focus in terms of getting training, getting insights, etc.?
It's kind of like, that's a trick question, right? But it's listings, right. I would have said that anyways. If this was called getbuyers.com, I would have said, listings. But I think that number one, you need skills in prospecting, because prospecting follow-up, right? Because that's where you got to start. Being assertive prospecting, lead generating is where you need to start, and that would be the answer. I mean, if you can get the most skills you can get, and just get the leads, and then if you get the leads, you'll show up to the appointment. I'm not saying you'll figure it out, but you'll learn a lot by just showing up.
Sure.
I mean, I remember interviewing one agent on my show, and he said, like his first month there, he would just go and visit, as many houses, as many expireds and FSBOs as he can. He would do, like, on a Saturday when the open houses of FSBOs, he'd go do like 20 of them. And he said, I really wasn't looking to list any of them. I was just getting experience.
Right.
You know,
Just trying to get on the bike and ride it, basically. Just get that practice.
yeah, and just be comfortable. So when he did get a hot seller, he was cool meeting a seller because he met 100 sellers already, you know? So
Sure,
it
sure.
freak him out, you know?
I like
So
that.
I would say, yeah.
Perfect. I like that. Well, Pat, I think we're here right at the end. I think we're right here at the end, and I appreciate your time and appreciate you contributing to the summit here, not only with your insights and digging into what the Rockstar agents have contributed to your program, but also then being willing to giving away and offering the course for half off. So super generous of you. Do you have any last words of advice that you'd want to give to anybody listening, or anything that you would kind of suggest as being a primary area of focus they should focus on going into 2017 in terms of winning at getting listings? Or is it just, the basics are the basics?
Well, I think listings are going to be more important than ever at 2017 because you're going to start seeing a shift, I believe. And I think that buyers are a byproduct of listings. So you get the listings and you will have buyers automatically. And so the more leads you can get, the better off, especially in a changing market, both buyers and sellers. I think you're going to start seeing more expireds and things like that. You're going to see agents who start to struggle and get fired by their sellers because they overpriced it and the market stopped going up, and so you're going to start seeing some of that. So I think the more educated you can get, and the more you can sharpen your tools, sharpen your knife and your saw with regards to your listing skills and your sales skills, it's going to behoove you in 2017.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, everybody, that's Pat Hiban. Pat, thanks for hanging out and being on the summit, and I look forward to collaborating on stuff in the future as well.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, Andrey, and you're offering a great service to the real estate agent community. I really appreciate you, putting it out there and letting so many people get such great, solid information at such a low cost. So thank you.
Awesome. All right. Take care.